Hello and welcome back to Surly Thames. Now this one's in regards to one of my Grail books that I had put on my list about a year or so ago. Now I don't know which program I was watching, but somebody was discussing Mighty Samson. And since I'm a post-apocalyptic fiction fan, I was drawn to it. And I'd probably seen these things a half million times in like dollar boxes, $3 boxes, and whatnot. But I put it on my list, and it was just one of those things. If I ran across it at a show, I'd snag one if I could. And I think I grabbed like two issues. They were really, really bad condition. They're in one of my boxes. I didn't get that out for now. Now, several months ago, I was at my regular comic dealer's, and he had like a $2 box. And I wound up finding number one in there. And then I just found out a few weeks ago that it's actually not a cheap book to find. And granted, mine is, I would say, probably a 1.5, maybe a 2. And I'm being very generous at that point. But then I fell down a rabbit hole, and I found out there were like 32 issues in the run. Two of them, I believe, were reprints. I think it was like 2 and 7 got reprinted. So technically, like 30 issues when you think about it. It ran from July of '64 to April of '82, but there was a hiatus in between because it ran with Gold Key, and then later it moved into being a Whitman book. And the character was created by Otto Binder as the writer, and Frank Thorne did the art for the first 6 issues, and Jack Sparling between 8 and issue 20. I'm not quite sure who did the other art for the later issues. I wasn't able to really find that information. I was just kind of, like I said, I fell down a rabbit hole and decided, what the hell, I'm going to go through this. And in 2010, Dark Horse released 4 hardback reprint collections, as well as releasing a reimagining of the series in December of 2010. From what I was able to tell, it had a sporadic release at best through October of 2011. Now, the art for this series is done by Patrick Olive and written by Jim Shooter. And then in 2016, Dynamite put out a series called the Gold Key Alliance, which included characters like Turok and Magnus, as well as the Mighty Samson. And from what I was able to gather, most of those stories were based on these characters dealing with life in the 21st century. Now, I did read when I read the first issue, I immediately became enamored with the character. Being a fan of Thundar the Barbarian, Gamma World role-playing game from TSR back, I believe my version was from '82, which was pretty much the year that everything changed for me anyway. But this coming out in '64, you could see some of the influences on that role-playing game of Gamma World, as well as you could kind of sense that this may have been an inspiration for Thundar and other series too. Post-apocalyptic stuff has just more recently become kind of popular due to the fact that, I mean, we've got the whole dystopian future thing. This was phenomenal. I couldn't believe how good it was. My copy's not the best, but it was good enough for reading. And it also marks off one on my Grail list. So I'm going to go ahead and end this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.